almost think of it now as a daisy chain kind of approach where we're building a bridge to making best use of those big guns. And we're also trying to, if you will, provide kind of a foundation upon which to build so that we've got as much resilience as possible. And I'm going to say as much capacity for the kinds of work that oxalate makes as possible. With that in mind, I've kind of gone to a slightly different approach for most of my clientele than what we advocate as a generic on the Wizards of Ox videos. And that has people starting with D-ribose and carnitine. Why? The main reason you want to start with D-ribose and carnitine is to get energy resources to the mitochondria. Mitochondria are going to do the bulk of the work trying to cope with what oxalate's doing. And you also need them for straight ahead energy in the tissues. So any tissues that are being affected by oxalate, if they don't have enough energy to do their work, like that seems like ground zero. So I actually start people nowadays, especially if they're more fragile, with something like D-ribose and some other amino acid. Now, if we're going to start talking generically, most often I might suggest carnitine. And I laughingly call this Monique's lemonade. And I call it Monique's lemonade because D-ribose is a sugar. It's a ring sugar, which means it has this formation, as opposed to most sugars or starches, which are long threads of sugar molecules. And the important thing about D-ribose is that your mitochondria can use that ring sugar for energy. Generally, pretty safe for people who have blood sugar issues, generally pretty safe for people who have candida. There's not too many things where they're perfectly safe. So again, uniqueness will matter, but this is usually one that I like to start with. And not only does that provide energy to the mitochondria, but D-ribose is something that your body can use to build your own B2. So that's towing us into those B vitamins. And the really lovely thing about B2 is that the latest research says B2 helps us deal with histamine. So if you're one of my histamine folks, this is a friendly way to start getting B2 into the body and also be able to give you some histamine support. So looks like riboflavin has something to do with what the body does to manage histamine and potentially is involved in breaking it down. Awesome news for us. So very gentle way to start. I've never had a person who hasn't been able to take D-ribose. I'm sitting at my kitchen table. I'm knocking on wood here, but it does seem to be very safe, very gentle, great place to start, easy to take. You don't have to buy it in a capsule. You can buy plain powder, and you can buy that plain powder really inexpensively. You can just drop it in a glass of water. Really like that as a starting place. I often combine that, as I laughingly called in Monique's lemonade, with something called L-carnitine. The reason I use L-carnitine is it's an amino acid, which again is supportive to the mitochondria. And in a lot of cases, simply because of the oxidative stress that oxalate is handing to our body on a silver platter, but also because of the kinds of impacts of oxalate, which may have, I don't know how I exactly say this, but kind of gummed up the works so that the mitochondria are not able to make as much energy as they should be. So carnitine helps those mitochondria to be able to make use of the fatty acids and the carbs that those mitochondria need to burn. So combining the light sweetness of D-ribose with the somewhat tangy taste of carnitine gives you my laughing name for this, which is the, Monique's lemonade. But it is, again, a very gentle way to come in.